The fifth book of Maccabees, containing a record of events from the translation of the Hebrew Scriptures into Greek under Ptolemy Philadelphus, 277 BC, to the death of Herod's two sons in the 5th or 6th year before Christ. Chapter 1. The attempt of Heliodorus on the treasury. It was ordained by the kings of the Grecian Gentiles that large sums of money should be sent into the holy city every year, and should be delivered to the priests, that they might add it to the treasury of the house of God, as money for the receivers of alms, orphans, and for widows. Now Seleucus was king in Macedonia, and he had a friend, one of his captains, who was called Heliodorus. This man was sent to spoil the treasury, and to take whatever money was therein. When this was noised abroad, it created great grief among the citizens, and they were afraid lest Heliodorus should proceed at great lengths, as they had not sufficient power to prevent him from executing his orders. Wherefore they all fly to God for aid, and ordained a general fast, and supplicated with humility, bowing of the knees and great wailing, putting on sackcloth and rolling themselves in ashes, with Onias the high priest and the other princes and elders, even to the common people, and women and children. And on the next day Heliodorus came into the house of God with a train of followers, and entered into the house with his foot soldiers, he himself being on horseback, and was in search of the money. But the great and good God sent a loud, terrible voice upon him, and he saw a person armed with weapons of war, riding on a large horse, and advancing against him. Wherefore he was seized with fear and trembling. And that person came up to him, and pulled him off from his saddle, and struck him with violence to the earth. So that being exceedingly terror-struck and frightened out of his senses, he became dumb. And when his attendants saw what had befallen him, and could perceive no one who had done these things unto him, they carried him with all haste down to his own house. And he remained during several days, neither speaking nor taking any food. Wherefore the chief men of his friends went to Onias the priest, beseeching him to be appeased towards him, and to implore the great and good God that he would not punish him. Which thing Onias did, and Heliodorus was healed of his disease. And he saw in a vision the person whom he had seen in the sanctuary, commanding him to go to Onias the priest, and to salute him, and pay him becoming honor, telling him that the great and good God had heard his prayers, and had healed him at Onias's request. Heliodorus therefore hastened to Onias the priest, whom falling down he saluted, and gave him money of various kinds, requesting him to add it to that which was in the treasury. Then he went from Jerusalem into the country of Macedonia, and related to King Seleucus what had happened to him, entreating that he would not compel him to become his representative at Jerusalem. Wherefore the king wondered at the things which Heliodorus mentioned to him, and commanded him to publish them to the world. And he took care that his men should be removed and sent away from Jerusalem, increasing the gifts which he used to send thither annually, on account of what had befallen Heliodorus. And the kings added more to the money which they ordered to be given to the priests, that it might be spent on the orphans and widows, also to that which was to be spent on the sacrifices. Chapter 2. The history of the translation of the 24 books out of the Hebrew tongue into the Greek tongue, for Ptolemy king of Egypt. There was a man of Macedon named Ptolemy, endued with knowledge and understanding, whom, as he dwelt in Egypt, Egyptians made king over the country of Egypt. Wherefore he, being possessed with the desire of seeking out various knowledge, collected all the books of wise men from every quarter. And being anxious to obtain the 24 books, he wrote to the high priest in Jerusalem to send him 70 elders from among those who were most skilled in those books. And he sent to the priest a letter with a present. So when the king's letter came to the priest, he chose out 70 learned men and sent them, together with a man named Eleazar, one excelling in religion, science, and learning, who departed into Egypt. And when their approach was made known to the king, he commanded 70 lodgings to be prepared, and the men to be there entertained. And he ordered a secretary to be appointed for each one, who should take down the interpretation of these books in the Greek character and language. He likewise forbade that any one of these should hold communication with any of his fellows, lest they should agree together to make any change in those books. So the secretaries took down from every one of them the translation of the 24 books. And when the translations were finished, Eleazar brought them to the king, and compared them together in his presence, on which comparison they were found to agree. Upon which the king was exceeding glad, and ordered a large sum of money to be divided amongst the party, but Eleazar himself he rewarded with a magnificent recompense. He also on that day set free every captive which was found in Egypt, of the tribe of Judah and of Benjamin, that they might return to their own country, Syria. The number of them was about 130,000. Moreover, he ordered money to be distributed among them, so that several denarii came to the share of each person, who, receiving these, departed into their own land. Then he commanded a great table to be made of the purest gold, which should be large enough to contain a representation of the whole land of Egypt, and a picture of the Nile, from the commencement of its streams to the end of it in Egypt, with its various divisions throughout the country, and how it laves the whole land. He also ordered the table to be set with many precious stones. And this table was made, and its carving was finished, and it was set with precious stones, and it was carried into the city of Jerusalem, a present to the magnificent house. And, arriving in safety, it was placed in the house according to the king's command. And truly men never beheld its like, for the beauty of the pictures and the excellence of its workmanship.